Good afternoon and Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Kent Erdahl. Right now, the fight against fraud is becoming more politically divided, with Minnesota daycares now at the center. This week, the Department of Health and Human Services announced it's freezing all federal daycare payments to Minnesota based on a viral YouTube video alleging widespread fraud. That's around $185 million supplementing child care. Providers and state leaders are spelling out exactly what that means for roughly 19,000 children who rely on that care. Our Sammy Salina has the details.
With frozen federal funds comes an uncertain future for tender child care in St. Paul.
These are certificates for the license that we carry for the state of Minnesota.
On this quiet Wednesday morning in the middle of winter break, they still have a dozen kids being looked after.
For transparency, for accountability.
And still, Maria Steffel feels the need to prove its legitimacy. She's the executive director of the Neighborhood Development Alliance, which provides financial services to low-income families. They house and partner with the daycare.
You cannot blame an entire community or an entire group of service providers for a clip that is looking for fame.
She's worried that the daycare will have to pause its services for low-income families who are mostly Somali after the Trump administration announced they will be pausing federal funds for all Minnesota child care providers, citing viral and unverified fraud allegations.
Anyone who's involved in perpetrating this fraud against the American people should expect to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
So let's be honest about how we really got here. Our president decided he doesn't like the Somali community and he wants to destroy them.
At the Capitol, a coalition of child care providers and families spoke about the importance of these services.
I'm currently a medical student. I rely on child care. I work. If child care is cut, I'm unable to work or go to school.
Could a provider talk about exactly when they will feel the impacts of the freeze?
I would love information on that. I don't have any.
So for now, the freeze leaves behind a limbo.
Everything is uncertain for me on what the outlook of 2026 might be.
Now, that group of providers specifically called out Lisa Demuth and the GOP. They criticized them of plotting with Nick Shirley, the YouTuber with that viral video outing allegations of fraud. We haven't received a response yet. Shirley, however, says he did not work with Demuth. A look from D.C. right now, where the House Oversight Committee announced it will start hearings on Minnesota fraud in the next couple of weeks, and Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison have been asked to come testify in February. The chair of that committee, Republican James Comer, said, quote, Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison have either been asleep at the wheel or complicit in a massive fraud involving taxpayer dollars in Minnesota's social services programs. Investigative reporter A.J. Legault is heading to Washington for those hearings. He'll be reporting the findings for us live starting on January 6th and on the 7th, the day the hearings are being held. Sad news for basketball fans today. Napheesa Collier will miss 4 to 6 months after having surgery on both of her ankles. That means the Lynx star will miss the upcoming unrivaled basketball season. Collier hurt her ankles during the WNBA season, spraining one and tearing ligaments in another during the WNBA semifinals. Developing right now in Switzerland, at least 40 people are dead and more than 100 are hurt after a fire at a ski resort. Investigators say the fire started in a bar just a few hours after midnight during a New Year's Eve celebration. Emergency crews are on scene right now trying to figure out exactly how the fire started. Right now, authorities say this does not appear to be a terrorist attack. As we begin a new year, several new laws are taking effect in Minnesota. They impact Minnesotans' work benefits, boating, hunting, elections, and the environment. It's a long list there. To vote absentee, you'll now need to apply online by providing both a driver's license number and the last 4 digits of your Social Security. That is, unless you can certify you don't have one of those numbers. Getting outside, your watercraft surcharge for funding invasive species control is going up. The charge used to be about $10, but it's now costing you anything between $14 and $62, depending on boat size, type, and use. And the shotgun zones are now a thing of the past for deer hunters. Before today, certain areas of the state only allowed shotguns for deer hunting, no rifles. But now, deer hunters can use all legal firearms anywhere in Minnesota during the season. Paid family leave is another big statewide change. The program passed the legislature in 2023, but is just now becoming law. It provides up to 12 weeks of family leave per year, 12 weeks of medical leave, or 20 weeks for a combination of both. Now, this is for people like new parents, those needing medical care for themselves, or those caring for a sick relative. Some other job-related changes: minimum wage is ticking up. It's now $11.41. But the state rate does not apply to St. Paul and Minneapolis, where the base wage is higher than that. Also, Minnesota law now specifies how much of a break workers must get. Every 4 hours, the break should be at least 15 minutes or whatever it takes to use the bathroom. New today, Affordable Care Act subsidies for millions of Americans officially expired, spiking premiums overnight. Congress let the subsidies expire after ending the legislative session without taking up that issue. That issue is what triggered the longest shutdown in government history without action. Healthcare advocates worry many will just get rid of their insurance entirely instead of paying more out of pocket. Joseph D'Amro says his premiums will jump about 15%.
It's a lot bigger than my car payment. It's between my car payment and rent. And it's getting closer and closer to the rent.
The House is set to vote next week on extending the subsidies for 3 years, but it likely won't pass the Senate. New today, some tariffs on goods coming into the U.S. are getting postponed until next year. President Trump pushing back tariffs on upholstered furniture, kitchen cabinets, and vanities just hours before they were set to go into effect. The White House didn't say exactly why, but did indicate negotiations with trade partners are ongoing. Most imported furniture comes from China and Vietnam. The tariff on cabinets was scheduled to hit 50%, while upholstered furniture would have reached 30%. Tariffs on both items have been at 25% since September. A big week in St. Paul. Today is Mayor Melvin Carter's last day on the job. Now, he's led the city for the last 8 years, but come Friday, Kali Herr will take the helm and all the work that comes with it. I sat down with her to learn more about her most pressing priorities as she takes office.
Kali Herr's historic election victory in November came after just 3 months of urgent campaigning and outreach in St. Paul. But in the time since, that outreach has become more difficult and urgent before she even begins an historically short 3-year term.
We need clear, timely information from federal agencies so that the panic doesn't take over and rumors don't spread.
What I think can't wait is the work around what is happening around ICE and deportation, which is why that has been I know I'm very quiet about it, but I've been working very much behind the scenes with the chief of police and our law enforcement entities around building trust and relationship with community groups and law enforcement. So I think that we need to continue that work. I will say another thing that I think is really important, I can't wait, is some of our city operations, because we do only have 3 years, and if we can't get businesses up and running, if we can't get people to expand the way they want to, if we can't get housing developed, it's really going to hurt our progress. Those things have to get done.
Herr says she's already met with plow drivers and employees across city departments to help understand where they can improve services and grow revenue without raising taxes. But at a time when downtown desperately needs more investment, she says she and the city council also have to build trust.
Political instability is one of the greatest reasons why people don't want to take risks. And so I think that we still have more work to do, and it's not necessarily just to look at one policy. It is, do we create and foster an environment in which people feel like it is politically stable for them to invest?
She says events like the World Junior Hockey Championship certainly help show everyone what is possible, and she hopes it's just the beginning.
I think we're always looking as a team for opportunities for us to say, what can come down here, and then who else can we bring here? I mean, in my greatest world of if everything were perfect, I would love to have the Timberwolves and the Lynx down here, right? I have opportunity for areas of development.
I just have to ask.
Yeah.
Just because I know you meet up with a lot of people already, have you had any formal talks with Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lori or anything else like that? Put a pitch in.
On the record or off the record?
Well, we're on the record right now.
Okay, then, well, what I will say is I think that there's been some great introductory conversations around just, our love for our city and sports, and that I look forward to future conversations.
There's a lot hiding behind that smirk.
Well, speaking of St. Paul, a big change is coming for winter parking in 2 St. Paul neighborhoods. The city is testing out a pilot program to see if an odd-even parking system will help snowplow drivers clear the streets. The 2 neighborhoods are located near Snelling and University Avenue, and also Dale Street and Selby. Starting Sunday afternoon, they will alternate every week between the odd and even sides of the street, something Duluth has been doing for years.
What we found in Duluth is in the same winter where we issued over 20,000 tickets, Duluth issued less than 200. And so this may be easier for residents to follow and may actually result in less tickets.
Now, that odd-even rule will be in effect until mid-April. Once it's over, the city will take a look at the data to see if this new rule should be applied citywide. Now, officials say that likely wouldn't happen until 2027 at the earliest because it will take time to create signs and educate people about the change. Stick with us. More news and weather is coming up after the break.